Here we go.
All right. So let's start from the beginning. What is it? One thing before I get going. The people that are over here, there's like the best seats in the house over here. So like y'all can like sit here. I don't know why this was like, people were like, yo, you know what I mean?
This is the stage, that's what it might be.
Yeah, hold on real quick. I got my audio disabled for some reason. Wonder why that is. There it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, while Andrew was speaking, I was actually like trying to, the Wi-Fi wasn't playing nice with each other because I didn't want to hold things, but let's see here. All right, I want to just play some music for everyone. It's a really bad Vine thing going on right now, okay? Just want everyone to feel relaxed, you know? It's, if you, through the sky. Anyway, if you didn't know, this is a Disney theme song for Little Einsteins with a trap beat on it. And if you don't know what it is, most people don't. If you do know what it is, you know that it's a pretty bad joke. So anyway, thank you Voss for sponsoring this talk. So kind of going back, what we're going to talk about, my talk is called Insert Yourself Not Coins, how to get into an industry you love. You know, I'm just going to use some examples that I have done. You know, it may work for you, it may not. I've seen both. So, whoa. So anyway, in the beginning, my grandma got a Sega Genesis from Uncle, that exact model, and you know, told me it was mine. And so we're always fighting for it. And so from age 3, you know, playing a lot of Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, I was like, man, I want to work in the video game industry. And you know, as we all found out when we were kids, most of that stuff was happening in Japan, the serious stuff anyway, or at least to my parents, you know. They're like, well, Christian, you know, that happens in Japan. You can't do that here. And so it's like, oh, dreams crushed immediately. You know, I don't think they meant to do that, but it was pretty ridiculous in the early 90s to say you wanted to make video games. And so fast forward, bounced around between the west side and the south side, but ended up graduating from Harlando High School. This is the Missions. Anyone, if y'all don't know about it, I need to do some research on it. This is kind of where Harlando got started. It's one of the most historic pieces in this city. And I'm not kidding, it's beautiful, it's awesome. Pride of the South Side, don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Just letting y'all know. Anyway, so, you know, since I couldn't really nurture that, you know, side of my personality, the tech side, because it wasn't really embraced in the early 90s. It really just wasn't, you know? And so I did what my parents, you know, wanted me to do. Since age 3, I've been playing basketball and like, just like hardcore, you know, back when CYO was like very serious business. It's not anymore. Everyone wins now. Everyone gets a goodie bag. You know, my dad would throw the goodie bag on the floor and you suck. And, you know, that never happened. So, Harlando High School, we did pretty well. This is, you know, we were #1 in the state 3 years in a row for three-pointers made. We lit it up. And this is actually third-round playoffs at a full capacity gym at the University of Incarnate Word. Of course I made that, you know that. Anyway, what is it? And so, you know, even there at my high school, when I talked to my counselor, about college and things I wanted to do, he just so happened to be the former basketball coach at Harlando. So all he talked to me about was the game. And I'd be like, what about college? He'd be like, right, but what about South San on Friday, you know? And I'd be like, oh, okay. So anyway, after high school, I really didn't know what to do. And my parents were divorced and I didn't really see my dad much anymore. But what I didn't know is that when you do your FAFSA, they still need your dad's information, even if he's not there. And my dad's an engineer and he makes a lot of money that I never see. And so I didn't get any financial aid at all. And so I luckily had scavenged a few scholarships and I was kicked out at 16. And so I enrolled at Palo Alto College, which, you know, for a kid. Huh?
Why were you kicked out?
I mean, we got all day, man. But what is it? Anyway, basically what happened was I enrolled at Palo Alto College and I lived in my car in front of the pool because the cops didn't really patrol that area, and because I could take a shower in the gymnasium area, and I had a whole routine, I had a whole system. Sometimes if I made enough money serving at Olive Garden, I would get a motel. And believe it or not, it wasn't that much better. So I was like, "Nah, fuck, sometimes I stay in the car, save my $40. So, you know, once again, I'm still in the South Side and at a place where at the time, it didn't look like this, by the way. It's beautiful now. It didn't look like this. At the time, this was kind of seen as like, oh, you're going to Palo Alto. You know what I mean? I had friends, peers that thought I was going to do big things, that were going to like Ohio State and Trinity and things like that. And, you know, I was supposed to go play basketball somewhere. I ended up visiting a couple of D2 schools and D3 schools, and I was like, it's not worth it. You know, I'll just stay home. And so I did the only thing I knew to do was to play basketball. And for some reason, that particular 2 years I was there, 1 year I was there, we had every JUCO dropout imaginable. So like, I am not kidding. This guy right here went to Burbank. He could dunk between the legs. We had a guy who can dunk from the free throw line. I mean, we were stacked, and the basketball budget was so high. We had uniforms, home and away. We played on the Spurs court. It was crazy. Unfortunately, some controversy happened, he knows about it, where they basically said, it's all sports, go away. But we actually beat like universities like Our Lady of the Lake, Huston-Tillotson and Austin, Schreiner and Kerrville. We played a lot of people, and we surprised a lot of people. It was a lot of fun. And so I'm walking around at Palo Alto one day, and the recruiter tells me, hey man, you ever think about going to Incarnate Word? And I start laughing, and I'm like, no, dude, that place is expensive. Like, I'm living in my car here and stuff, you know? And he tells me, he's like, well, if you have good grades, we could get you a big scholarship. I'm like, whatever. And he's like, what's your GPA? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know how GPAs work at the time, and we weren't on the point scale. It was either A or nothing, you know? So I get my transcript, I hand it to him, he's like, you have a 4.0. And I'm like, yeah, it's Palo Alto, what the hell? Like, of course I have a 4.0. You calling me stupid or something? And anyway, I got the max scholarship I could get for a transfer student and some other ones that paid my tuition. I didn't get room and board. So I said, screw it, I'm living in my car here. I'll just go live in my car over there. And so I did. And I took out a student loan and I got a better car. So it was a Nissan Sentra. I love that car. It was roomy, and you know, it was great. And the plan was to go here and continue playing basketball. And I was in that process, but then, you know, something unexpected happened. I became a father in 2009. That's not what she looked like. She wasn't that big. But you know, at that point, I really could not juggle. You know, maybe if I had support from her mother or support from my parents or something, I could have, but me working and trying to support everyone, it was not happening. And I started realizing that I can't live in my car anymore. It's just not appropriate. And so I worked my ass off at Easy Pond full time while going to UIW. And then Joey told me that maybe I need a change of setting, because I was in the Southeast side, and I was still having a hard time assimilating to life in the academic world, because I was still where I was at. You know, a guy's telling me he's gonna fucking kill me after work and shit. I'm like, let's go. You know what I mean? And then you go to Alamo Heights, it doesn't work well. It doesn't mesh. And so I go to school on Mad Dog, like, what, dude? And they're like, hey, you know. And I started realizing that these people don't have problems. I had the problem. And so Joey told me to apply at Apple. I got hired. That's the back. You're never supposed to see that, but whatever. I don't work there no more. But yeah, and it changed a lot of things. It gave me a stable income. I was making more money, and it surrounded me with people that were, you know, for the most part motivated, and, you know, maybe not from the same background as me. And so while I was at Apple, and since I wasn't concentrating on basketball, it allowed me to really nurture that other part of me that I had been ignoring my whole life. And so I got involved with Convergent Media, started building like random things, hanging out with Joey, checking out some fast cars. We ended up throwing like the biggest party in Incarnate Word history. Not joking about that. What is it? You know, I ended up on a billboard for the university because I did a audition, and they liked me. Came out in this really bad commercial that people in the South Side started calling me up. Hey, dude, I saw you on TV. And I'm like, oh, like on Kenside? They're like, no, on ESPN. And I was like, wow, I didn't know they had put that much money in it. By the way, I had no idea that was up. That was at Ingram Park Mall and Rolling Oaks Mall. And someone told me, dude, I saw you the other day. I'm like, where? At Ingram. I was like, I don't go to that damn mall. And they're like, no, the poster. And I was like, oh, the poster. So I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, they put a little toaster. And then I go and I'm like, what the hell is that? Funny story is, on this particular picture, I have a gap in my tooth because I had actually got a lot of my teeth knocked out and they weren't finished fixing my teeth yet. So I had a gap for a while. It was pretty weird. Like I said, I got in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right. And so, here we are. We won several awards. I helped Johnny do his campaign for SGA president. We got like new organization. I don't know. We got a trophy on my head. Joey got we cleaned house. We started cleaning house. I started doing projection mapping installations, and I just started getting like really like, you know what? Like, I'm going balls in. You know what I mean? Because when I play basketball, that's literally the only thing on my mind. And so when I did Convergent Media, it was the only thing on my mind. It was the only way I knew how to do it. And so insert Rob the Original. This is a hair artist here in San Antonio. And when I met Rob, he worked at Acapulco. This is the only picture of the place I could find on Google Earth because, and that's probably better than what it really looks like. But he never wanted to be a barber. This guy was an artist that I met here in the South Side on South Flores. He wasn't making any money. Nobody cared that he was an artist, and he was unlicensed working out of Acapulco because they don't really care. They're like, hey, you cut some hair, man, whatever. But what I noticed was he was the only one that wasn't like fucking up my edge up. Because I would always have a slant or something, and this guy was like, and I'm like, yeah, it's just lines, and he's like, yeah, it's just lines, And the reason why it came so easy to him is because he was an artist, he could draw, and so he was getting ready to leave, and I was like, God, no, I need you, man. Like, you're the only one who can cut my hair. I'll implement everything I've learned from Convergent Media, and apply it to you, for free. I don't care. Just don't quit being a barber. And he was like, yeah, sure, whatever. This guy's completely tech illiterate, okay? He's an artist that at heart. There's no tech involved here. And so, I do that. And long story short, he owns we went viral with some of the video work I did. Huh?
You made that video?
Yeah.
Also like a year ago.
Yeah. We've been featured on ESPN, Yahoo, Good Morning America, World Star Hip Hop, anything you can think of, it was on there, okay? He's been on numerous things. That's the shop at the Pika Pika Plaza that he has right now. And in 3 years, he owns 2 locations now. He's sponsored by Conair on salary. He's appointment only, and he has the greatest presence of any barber on social media. The thing, and one thing with me at the time when this was happening, the EDM thing was kind of getting big, and a lot of artists were, purchasing likes, purchasing plays, purchasing following in order to appear to have an audience. And with Rob, we didn't care, but we wanted to know how much reach did he really have. So I always told him, we're never going to do anything like that. And if you see a guy, because he would tell me, man, Christian, this guy's got 30,000 followers on Instagram and he sucks. And I'd be like, hey, how many people are liking his pictures? He's like, well, I don't know, like 50. I'm like, well, they're probably fake, man. I'll be honest with you. He probably purchased them. But why would they do that, Christian? No, remember. And I'm like, I don't know, man, but if you ever do that, if you ever come to that, you'll never know how many people you really are affecting, how many people are actually seeing your work. And so one thing I love about him is that he stayed true to that. This is actually, he hand paints all this, by the way. This is his barbershop. It's all by hand. Like, he just designs his own places. I'm not even kidding. He's very good. So anyway, to kind of put in perspective, the guys that he looked up to, he has 113,000 followers on Instagram. And those guys are like, oh God, like, Rob, you are the best. You're the best ever. Please come out and we'll do this. And he's like, whoa. And I'm like, you see, dude, it was all fake. And then I don't know if recently, if y'all remember, they did a cleanup of fake following. All those guys lost 30,000, 20,000, 10,000 followers. And I was like, I told you. And he was like, whoa. You know how many he lost? 1,000 bots that just followed him. You know what I mean? So kind of put that in perspective. And he's been on the Queen Latifah show. He's basically growing at such a rapid rate that I can't even contain him because I inherently became his manager.
That's him.
No. And what is it? He came so big, I started getting so many calls from television studios. I said, fuck this, I don't like doing this. I wasn't in this to be a manager, I just wanted him to be successful. So I actually contracted him out to another manager. One of my friends, Mary Carmen Lopez, she used to do stuff for Univision. She has a manager, same manager as like Mario Lopez and stuff, because she's an actor. And so I said, you know what? I was like, give me your number. I said, hey, Karen, I'm gonna give you all the rights to him for television. Huh? I'm like, yeah, all the money, all that stuff, I don't want it. It's too much work, I don't like it. Go make money off of him, whatever. And you know, and that's what we did, and this is kind of an example of where he's at.
Welcome to the battle. Join
Whoa.
And the country's best barbers. Personal barber. With the barber.
The ad hoc network is failing me. But let's see here. See if we'll get it now.
Welcome to the battle. Join Cedric the Entertainer. And the country's best barbers. LeBron James' personal barber. With the barber's best barbs.
That's a little hard cutting hair over here with Borat working next to me.
We're all coming to see.
Let's get the cut.
Who will be crowned? It's a work of art. And who will get clipped?
Creepy.
You never know what's going to happen when you blow this up.
Cedric's Barber Battle. New reality series Friday, April 10th on the CW. What the hell?
I know that guy. Anyway, the guy who made the Borat comment, that's Rob the original. And he's not mean like that, it's TV. But what is it? So this is coming out soon. And so if you could put it into Rob's perspective, his dreams have come true. These were his dreams, you know. And let me tell you, I was obsessed over this campaign, what I'll call it. Every little detail, everything. Now I kind of gave him reign, because I used to run everything, the Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook, the YouTube, everything. I've kind of given him reign now, so I take no responsibility for what he posts anymore. But I used to curate everything. Like, no, you can't post that, delete it. No, you can't post that, delete it. Now I don't care anymore, because it's too much work. Anyway, but you know, I put everything into this and everything went right. And so for me, that was a big accomplishment and a kind of a big, influence on what we're gonna get into. So PAX South, if any of y'all don't know about it, it's a big video game conference. They have it in the East, North, West, and South now. It used to only be one. And I was so thrilled, remember video games, first slide? I was so thrilled that this video game conference was gonna be held here in San Antonio in the Henry B. Gonzalez Center. I was like, oh my God, I have to go. Like, this is like, I've always dreamed of going to like E3 and stuff in California, but my parents would be like, you're stupid. And so, you know what, I got it, and this is seriously. And so I went, got to play with Oculus, got to see all the booths, but I went there for business. I went there to make a contact. I didn't go there for fun. I went there to make some sort of business contact. And all these people and all these floors, I couldn't find anybody. I was running out of, I was like, dude, I can't find one person to kind of guide me or just kind of help me a little bit on my venture. And then I also noticed, where's all the brown people? Every panel I went to, and that's another thing that always intimidated me about the video game industry. It doesn't anymore, but it did, is that every panel I went to, every magazine I read, every website I visited, for the most part, the development teams and the people that worked in the industry were white, with a token woman. You know, no black people, no white, no Mexican people, nothing, just white men and one woman, usually. If you're lucky, you got the woman, you know, and it was very discouraging because as they talked, one of the first questions everyone asked the audience is like, how did you get into this industry? And I would say like 80% of them don't even really give a shit about video games. And they're like, I was doing something for Walmart, and my buddy was like, hey, I work at this studio called BioWare. You should come work here as a project manager. Okay, and they get in because they're friends. I mean, I took my girlfriend, I took my friend there, and that's what all of them were saying. Oh, it was an accident. My buddy was here. and I just started seeing this huge inclusion problem, which, I'm from Apple, where they try really hard to fix it, even though there still is an inclusion problem at Apple. They recognize it and they're trying to fix it. But these people were it was just so oblivious, I'm sorry, I'm working on it.
We'll stay after that.
Yeah. Is that a recording?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
God, have the decency to announce it yourself. Anyway, so that was kind of alarming, but boom! As we're getting towards the end, I meet this gentleman named Imran. And Imran is from Lockhart, Texas. And he runs an arcade out there. And that brings me to my discussion about the arcade, or Forgotten Escape. One of the key reasons why I didn't end up like my peers in school, I was on the basketball team. And I can tell you right now that not one player on my team graduated from college. Some of them are dead. The ones that did well are in the oil fields. That's the reality, And my coach even told me, he's like, I've been coaching for 20 years, and I can count on like one hand how many of my players have graduated. And I think honestly, one of the key reasons was that when I was younger, on Military Drive in the South Side, there was a place called Diversions. And whenever my friends would be like, hey, let's go break into a house, or I found some weed or something, I got some coke, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the arcade. And it was the only place cool enough for them not to pick on me about going. Because if I'm like, I'm gonna stay home with my mom, they're like, you know what I mean? So I would just be like, yeah, I'm going to the arcade. And they're like, oh, that's cool, man, yeah. And so I kind of used that to shelter myself. Even if I didn't have quarters, I would go and just stand there and watch people play. I'm not even lying. You check and see if you could find some quarters, maybe get a game in. I remember I would get so good with 2 quarters where I would just be there for at least 15 minutes because I wouldn't lose. Anyway, so that brings me to Dreamanoids, my installation project. And so what I really wanted to do with all the things that I have learned through Convergent Media and through experimentation with Rob the Original was I wanted to create the arcade atmosphere again. And I wanted to do it in a place that needed it. And so the South Side, it's actually been coming up pretty, it's not as bad as it used to be. There's even some gentrification going on by the Mission area. Houses are expensive, it's a pretty tight community. But I remember when I used to stay on my other house on 36th Street on the west side, not so much, and it always used to freak me out because I was like, hey man, we're both Latinos, what's going on? Like why, and it's because I feel like a lot of people in the west side in power just weren't really thinking about the community. And luckily at Harlandale, that doesn't happen a lot in that part of the South Side. And so, we found a building on Guadalupe Street. It was in pretty bad shape when we got it. It was in really bad shape, and most people thought I was completely insane. And luckily, through working at Apple and through other things, like I had developed like this desire to just kind of take something and make it into my own. And this is kind of where we're at now. This is a mural being done by Louis Chavez. It's not finished yet, but this is what the outside's looking in. This is what the inside's kind of, it's different now, but this is like, we cleaned it all up, changed it. Got our first Tetris machine,
Can you go back real quick? Can I say something? That red room right there, that used to be where they would give you your age results.
There you go, see? Yeah, Hope Action Care was a nonprofit that specialized in like, helping people with HIV and things of that nature.
Do tests and all that.
Tests and all that, yeah.
Give condoms.
Condoms, yes. And it's a rough area. It's gotten better with the Avendia and all that. I'm right down the street from the Guadalupe Cultural Arts and the Guadalupe Theater. And so right down the street. And so I loved it. A lot of people were like, dude, this is a rough area. And I'm like, don't let the UIW degree fool you. Like I'm still very much in love with this part of town. And so here we are, I've touched every inch of this place. I'm not kidding. Like I've put a lot of love into this place and I'm still not finished. But I promise you, I'm not even exaggerating. To the top of the ceiling, to the corner of the wall, I've been there. And that's how much work I'm putting into this place. And so I'm going to kind of take you into what I did with Rob the Original and what I'm going to do differently for Dreamanoids, because Rob the Original was not a barber. And Rob the Original was not in the barber industry. He was nobody. And what we did is we shoved him in everyone's face. And it's undeniable now. He's probably one of the most recognized barbers in the world. In fact, I have the analytics to prove that. What is it? I have the emails to prove that. I got an email today from Argentina. I get emails from Greece. I get emails from Brazil, from Europe, everywhere. I'm not even kidding. And so these are the channels of choice. A lot of you have probably heard of them. And I'm going to kind of just, and this is simple stuff, but all I'm going to do is tell you what I do and what works for me. And maybe you do it already, and maybe you don't, but we'll talk about it. So we got YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, SoundCloud, Google Maps, and Yelp, because Foursquare killed itself. Swarm sucks. I'm not touching that. Yeah, boo, yeah. And why? Because it's free. And word of mouth has become social media. I had this one person tell me when Rob was blowing up on social media, one of the workers there was kind of like, my dad owns a automotive body shop and he don't need no social media. He only needs one thing, word of mouth. And I was like, okay, well, I don't care. You know what I mean? Your dad doesn't make near the money Rob makes, so whatever. And so, you know, word of mouth has become social media for the younger, especially for the younger generation. That is word of mouth. Oh my God, did you see that fight? It's on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, you're not gonna go around and be like, you know, no one's waiting for the story to come to their ear anymore. Like, oh, I'm gonna meet so-and-so in the hallway and they're gonna tell me what happened. Like, no, you look at it online. Anyway, these are the reasons for each channel. YouTube, they pay you. I know you've probably heard this and you're probably like, oh, it's probably just a little bit. No, it could be hundreds, it could be thousands, it could be millions of dollars. And so if you feel like you have any kind of audience, you need to be on YouTube. Because, I mean, there's people from another part of the world that like comment on Rob's videos in Russian. And they're just like, this is the most awesome thing in the world. And I'm like, you know what I mean? And we would have never known about that guy if it wasn't for YouTube. Patreon, a little bit newer. Patreon is basically a place where imagine a Kickstarter that never ends. So, yes.
I was going to say on the YouTube, just for those that when he says just like, you know, you can make money on YouTube, you get a Google AdSense account. That's all you have to do. You get a Google AdSense, you go to AdSense, Google it, and you just register, and then you can tie your AdSense account to YouTube, and then you can monetize any video.
I found it easier if you just go to YouTube and click on monetize, it'll actually take you directly to AdSense and link it for you. It's super simple. Yeah, super simple to get the money. You put your bank account info in. When you hit $100, you get paid. And I've made money off of YouTube with Rob's videos. And so Patreon is like a cool thing. Like, let's just say you have a weekly show. And you're gonna have this show every week, no matter what. And every week, you're gonna have a guest. Every week, there's gonna be some kind of cost. What you could have is a Patreon, and on Patreon, people can donate $1 a month. It's basically a subscription service, and it's super easy to set up, and there's no limit, there's no amount. If you're only getting $5 a month, who cares? You're only getting $5 a month. And we'll come back to Patreon, I'll show you that. Twitch, it's a gaming stream website. I'm an arcade, so I'm gonna, you know, I got some more channels, I have more channels than Rob had. Twitch is like, you can stream yourself playing games. And once you reach a wide enough audience, they pay you as well. And what I'm trying to tell you guys is that this is money on the table if you're not taking advantage of. I remember when I first started my Twitch account, I have a older one. I was like, no one's gonna watch me. Man, people were watching. It was crazy, and they're interacting with me. You know, mostly inappropriate stuff like, what are you wearing? And you know, it is for real. But aside from that, money. Anyway, Twitter. I'm a big fan of Twitter. Y'all should be too. You get complete reach for the most part. You know, Facebook, you know, I only use it because my mom's on it, which basically means everyone's on it. You gotta have the Facebook for ceremonial purposes, in my opinion. I don't like to pay for ads. I hate that. I think it's BS. I think that if 10,000 people liked my page, 10,000 people should see what I'm posting. I shouldn't have to pay for those people to look at it. But that's the world we live in, and Twitter's a little better about that. So if I post them on Twitter, most of my followers probably see it. Instagram, because I'm sexy, no. But if you have a sexy product or something that is aesthetically pleasing, like art on the hair, you know, Instagram is a great place. All barbers, I can tell you right now, are like, they think Instagram is the internet. I made a website. Oh, you did? What's the website? Instagram / I'm like, whatever. You know, for them, Instagram is it. I mean, they DM on Instagram, they network on Instagram. Somebody just made a flyer and it had all the @ at their Instagram handles instead of their real names. And I was like, okay. They got it, yeah, at the barber shop, they have their Instagram. I mean, it's all about, they post the damn hair. I swear to God, I see the same damn haircut every day. And I'm like, okay, dude, you did a taper fade, congratulations. But every barber I know has more followers than the average man, which is bizarre. Like, they just do. Go look up a barber, I promise you. And then Tumblr. Now, here's the thing I do with Tumblr. Tumblr, free website. I know a lot of people think Tumblr is like just like a blog or whatever, but it's pretty intricate enough where you can get a URL, www.dreamonoids.com. And when you type that in, you're gonna go to my website, but it's just a Tumblr page. And anybody that's used WordPress or Blogger or whatever, and you're like, but I like to use WordPress and I like the themes and it's so easy. Tumblr is the same damn thing. The only difference is when you make a Tumblr, you get access to that entire audience. And what I mean by that is, if I made a website, a standard word, a custom website, and I make a post and I hashtag pie, that's, whatever. It's, you Google pie or whatever, But if I hashtag pie on Tumblr, everyone on Tumblr that looks at pie could potentially see your post. You have greater reach, I feel like you're just embedded into a network from the start. Why not just use it? And it's free, okay? Hosting is not super expensive. You can get hosting for $120 a year, but I could get Tumblr for free. Just saying. Anyway, free website. SoundCloud, I'm only doing that because I'm gonna make a podcast. Easy to use, easy to download. Google Maps, people need to find you, right? Believe it or not, a lot of people only find Rob because of Google Maps. They type in barber shop and Rob's comes up. So there are people like that. And then Yelp, because Foursquare killed itself. I'm not even getting into that, it's trash. But Yelp, a lot of people use Yelp for business. It's not just for food, it is for local businesses as well. It does the same. Basically, Foursquare killed itself and made Swarm to mimic what Yelp does. But people, why wouldn't I just go to Yelp then? Anyway, regardless, those are my channels. Those are why I use them. If you're already using them, good. If you've never heard of them, please research them. They're very interesting. They're very helpful. It's very basic stuff, guys. I'm not a wizard, And how this all translates to industry, right? Like how the heck does this help you out, right? I'm gonna use 3 examples.